Hello, everyone. Thank you guys for coming. Yes, it has been a while. I have not posted, but I am back and I am ready and willing. Thank you guys for coming. If you are still coming through, please, if you're new here, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell for all updates. Okay, so this is going to be this video that I found to be very interesting, and it's from my favorite YouTubers, Abba and Preach. I've been following them for the last few years, and they are absolutely amazing. Love these guys, so let's get into it.
So this came from our subreddit.
Can I ask a quick synopsis of what you think the prescription is for society today for men? In a short version, what do you think they should do to be successful with women?
Be successful with women.
Yeah.
Okay, are we talking about like getting a girl for a long-term relationship just to get laid? What are we talking about?
Well, I think the only reason should be for a long-term relationship and marriage. I mean, that's Jesus Christ founded it, but I'm just curious what your prescription is.
Hey,
Well,
that's what I'm
I've talked about this. I think guys have to have certain things in place, right, before they want to get into a long-term relationship. It's 5 things. So I would say 100K per year, 6 figures a year, 6 months to 1 year of savings, be in good shape, have at least 50 partners, right, sexual body count.
Now you hear the crowd, okay? Everything he just said. Let me give my tidbits before this lovely man, Christian God-fearing man, speaks his absolute truth. Okay, let's start off with the fact that number one, men and women should have that anyway, as far as money and taking care of themselves, health-wise, things like that. That's just a given, And one of the things that I find with a lot of these red pill people, now, and mind you, understand what I'm saying here. I'm not discrediting the red pill movement. I understand it. It's just that Myron and a few others are on the extremist side of it, and they use it to scheme and to manipulate men for money, playing them just for as fools for money, so they tell them these things, making it seem like it's a gold mine, making it seem like, oh yeah, this is God-given truth, this is what's going to help you be a better man. And in truth, when it comes down to the dating sphere of it, it's absolute trash. It's horrible. Okay, it doesn't work. Okay, and mind you, a lot of these guys that like Rollo Tomassi and Myron and a few others in this red pill era, part of YouTube, a lot of these guys have not been in long-term relationships, have never been in long-term relationships, has never experienced it. They have a hard time with women. They don't know how to talk to women. They're socially awkward around women. And they are top dogs to trying to give advice to men on how to get with women. It's crazy. Again, what he said in the beginning, the first 3 things that he said, absolutely agree. You should get your money up, and now it doesn't necessarily have to be 6 figures. Not everybody can get to 6 figures, but you should get your money up. You should take care of your body. You should take care of your health and make sure you're on point. But sleeping around with a bunch of women, that's not going to help you. In fact, that's going to make things worse for you. But let's continue.
You could go ahead and engage with what I've said so far.
So the reason I asked that is I've watched almost every single podcast you ever did for about 1.5 years. So much so that I bought into a lot of the things that you said. And for about 2 years, it led me astray and significantly damaged my personal life, including relationships.
How did it lead you astray?
Well, you told me to go sleep with a bunch of women and date multiple women at the same time, which I did. And it significantly damaged my life. And it wasn't until I actually turned around and started listening to Jesus Christ that I was saved.
That's right. I clap too.
People clapping for Jesus Christ on a college campus.
Well, these are less toxic than him. So
Okay. Jesus isn't toxic at all. He's a blessing.
That's
you better
right.
Watch yourself. You're fucking blaspheming.
So that
You're
makes
going crazy.
that makes him less toxic.
He's not toxic at all.
Toxic.
We know what you're trying to do. Okay, if you got to hate on Jesus, do it on your own time, not on Abba and Preach time.
He's less toxic. I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want. It's a habit, it's shadow. All right. Well, he's more toxic than Allah.
That's allowed on this channel.
That's crazy.
Now
I'm a newly found Christian myself. That did not bother me at all. It's just jokes, and I'm here for it.
I'm happily married.
Yeah.
I have 1 child now with another one on the way, and I've never felt happier. But I felt
Congratulations. That's good. That's really
Thank
good.
you. Thank you. And I know you're not against that, but my concern is what you're saying to men leads them astray because I'm a walking example of it. And I think you're significantly damaging people, and especially you're leading people away from morality.
Mm-hmm. And I totally agree with that. Totally do. Okay, sorry, y'all. Sorry about that. I had to change up some things there because it's a commercial. But yes, shout out to this man for turning his life to Christ and just changing his ways and really holding himself accountable for everything. He's gonna get deeper into like how he changed and like I said, holding himself accountable for the mistakes he's made. And he changed up so much so that he's now married. He has kids, and you could tell this is a very happy dude, and that's awesome. Like I said, for me, I know that I turned my life to Christ last year, and I hadn't been in the Word for like a long, long time, and it took me to really go through stuff to really move forward in my life. It took a lot, but I was able to get through it nonetheless. And honestly, that's because of Jesus Christ himself. And there was even a point in time where I felt like low and I felt like I would never get married, things like that, because I used to listen to the red pill thing, the manosphere of YouTube. And it was always extremely toxic when it came down to how they viewed women. A lot of these guys would say some very hurtful, painful things about women, about how they think that all women are 304s, you should just use them, things of that nature. And it's not all of them, of course, not all the YouTubers that were in that sphere that were saying things like that, but there are a few of them a lot of them that definitely would put this idea that, a woman with a past could never have a future with a man, could never have a future with having a husband and children and having a family. And I can see how that could put women down. It put me down. It made me feel like I couldn't succeed in that or have that. But in truth, because I gave my life to Christ and Christ forgave me, and I was able to forgive myself, I have new friends. I have hope, dreams. I've gotten out of that dark sphere, and that is because of Jesus Christ all day, every day. And so I can believe that this man truly did overcome. Myron, again, like I said before, Myron is a scammer. Okay, there's a lot of people that know that. And he will single-handedly charge men thousands of dollars to give them bullcrap advice that doesn't work, that doesn't give them the results that they're really looking for. I guarantee you that a lot of these young men, because it's young dudes, it's young men, it's men that probably have never been in a relationship ever, and they're just lost. They probably, they don't know what to do, but some of them really do want to be in relationships, and they are told, hey, don't worry about that. Just sleep around as much as you want, look good, have money, and you'll get to have as many women as you want, but not understanding that mentality itself is toxic.
Women are not sex objects. Women are created in the image of God, and they are valuable.
Yes.
And they should be treated as such. Why should God give you one of his children if you don't even know how to treat them? So I think.
Yes.
Okay, Pastor. Yo, preach. Yo, move aside, dude. Move aside. Somebody else might take your name.
I'm praising. Let's go. Yes. Oh,
Not him speaking in tongues.
He went
For
in.
you said you got out there dating and meeting women and stuff like
Yeah.
that, and then you said that it kind of hurt you.
Yeah.
How did it hurt you specifically?
Well, I started warring against my own flesh. It's like trying to fill an empty void.
Mhm.
There's a God-shaped vacuum in the heart of every man that can only be filled by God alone. Anything else you try to fill with that's not going to satisfy it.
Sure.
And I tried to do it with sex.
Would it be fair? How'd you meet your wife?
We actually had the #1 dating podcast in North and South Carolina called Who Hurt You Podcast.
Okay.
And I'm also friends with Fresh. I know him very well. I texted him before I came here.
Oh,
And I know
wow.
pretty much everyone on your crew. But I was a heavy follower, and you actually inspired me to start the podcast. And I realized what I was doing was wrong.
Yeah. So would it be fair to say
Wow.
that when you went through that experience, you were able to identify characteristics that you probably found as unredeemable and you probably wouldn't want to commit to, right?
In what way?
Well, when you were seeing these women, right, you probably started seeing patterns in how they behave, how they speak, or whatever. Maybe they're not qualified to be a wife. Because the thing is, right?
Well,
whenever-
I don't need that. I have the Bible for that. It tells me what to look for.
Yeah, but
Yes.
the thing is that you were able, and again, you're probably not going to notice it, but when you dated and dealt with all these women, you probably were able to identify characteristics that you were not fond of, or characteristics that would make a woman not a good candidate for a long-term relationship. And I think half the game is figuring out which girls don't qualify for marriage versus which ones that do.
Okay, now you see what Myron is trying to do now is he's trying to spin, and he's trying to make it seem like, oh well, actually it's because of what I told you, because of you sleeping around with so many women, you were able to tell which woman was actually the right kind of woman. Myron is one of those people that will single-handedly, I mean, you can't talk to him. Like, he's not going to listen to anything you say. Everything he does, he will spin, and he will make it seem like it was all his idea. You know, he's a narcissist through and through, straight up. So he's, he could be absolutely wrong, but still finds a way to try to make himself seem like he's right. Okay. And that's what he's doing here with this guy. This guy is single-handedly saying that none of his advice actually worked. And Myron is trying to save himself, because remember, he's got a lot of money on the line for this. He's still selling courses and sessions and all kinds of stuff to a lot of young men out there. To have someone come to him to his face and tell him that everything that he said does not work, that's money out of his pocket. So he's trying to save himself right now. And he's trying to make it seem like, well, hey, what I said by you sleeping around with so many women, it actually worked out for you. And you were able to tell who was the right kind of woman. The truth of the matter is, in none of anything that Myron has ever said, he's never said to go after a Christian woman. Never. He's never mentioned going after any former religious woman. He's never said anything like that. All he said is, get your money up. FBs, fuck bitches. I'm sorry for my language, y'all. Okay. But I'm just saying, Myron is not one of those dudes who actually gives a crap or cares about the mindset of these men. He doesn't care about and he doesn't care about women either. He cares about his bottom line, and the bottom line is money all day, every day. He found a niche that works for him. He uses it to his advantage. He scams people, and he does not give great advice. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes Myron says things that make sense. Sure. But then next thing you know, he says some outlandish stuff thinking it's going to garner him some praise, some admiration from other men, things of that nature. So Myron is not one of those people. So right now he's like I said, he's spinning. He's spinning, and he's trying to make it seem like it was because of him that this man was able to find himself a wife. And this man is absolutely right. It's in the Bible. It says it in the Bible, what a man should look for in a wife. And it also says in the Bible what a wife should look for in a husband. If you want the real, you go to the word. That's it. That's all. That's how it always should be. And it works, So as far as Myron is concerned, the only thing he seems to know how to do is to get men to sleep with a bunch of women and make them turn them into spiteful women, which inevitably ends up happening.
And clearly you learned a skill set on how to become attractive and get women. And then you're able to identify the things that you like versus the things that you don't like. And that only comes a lot of times with experience. Now, look, if a guy can go ahead and find a woman as a virgin and be attractive and be able to understand how to navigate that, that's great in modern times. But the reality is a lot of guys don't. I mean, even in your success story, you had to go through a lot of bad women to be able to identify your current wife as the one. So failures are good.
Okay, so I guess he's attributing the success this man has in his life right now to going through some of the stuff Myron told him to go through.
That's what it's saying.
Okay, interesting. So that means like I could just tell someone to do some kind of stupid fucking struggle that has nothing to do with them getting married. If they go through it and get married afterwards, I can take credit and be like, because you followed what I did.
You told me to steal from that bank.
Right.
I went and end up in jail. And then when
And on
jail,
parole, you met your wife.
And then I was able to redeem myself and everything. You're welcome.
That's $5,000 to get on my yacht.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Boys being boys.
You want to find a woman?
For those that don't know, Myron, the Fresh and Fit team, had a party. Supposedly, they said it was going to be full of women, all this other stuff, and they charged men thousands of dollars to be on this yacht in Miami, where there was supposed to be a bunch of women, and instead, you didn't have a bunch of women. You you had a bunch of men. And a lot of those women didn't even want anything to do with them. They just wanted camera time. And because it was free. That's the only reason why they showed up. And then a lot of those women left early. None of those women stayed, but a lot of those dudes, all they did was party, dance with music, and they danced with each other. There was absolutely no women really messing with these guys. It was actually hilarious. And Abra and Preach did do a video on that. And I think you guys should watch it. I'm gonna try to find that video and link it in the description box below.
Woman who's marriageable and all this other stuff, but you gotta sleep with 50 women, 50 people. If every man out here slept with 50 women, nobody would be able to marry one because you would say they're all whores, and it's your fault. Just do the math.
We're half and half on this. And
Every man sleeps with 50 women, you would turn every single one of them into the kind of women you complain about.
100%. And there will be really a pandemic of that.
I don't even subscribe to it, but it doesn't make sense how this can be a movement for men, but literally the average man will never be represented. Or the other one I like too is like, this is a movement for men. Fantastic. You have to get to 6 figures or else you shouldn't get married. Most people are never going to touch 6 figures. That's like 10% of people, and by the time they hit that, they already in their 40s for a lot of them. Mm-hmm. For a single man, you're basically saying none of y'all should ever get married because most of y'all will never reach this point.
What you were causing me to do was sin against myself, and that's the point I'm trying to get to. It's immoral.
Yeah, I mean, you got to take personal responsibility, bro, because here's the reality.
No, I do, 100%.
Yeah, so
very publicly, I have in
that's,
front of over 40,000 people. I've done that.
Yeah, great. But the point I'm trying to make is I teach guys a skill set, right? If I give you a gun and you shoot yourself in the foot, is that my fault?
That's not
no. That's not.
You didn't give people a gun.
If you've been trying to lose
how to use it and where to use it and who to use it on, that's very, very different.
Here's the other thing too that you got to understand.
What happens when you speak to people and tell them to do these things.
Here's the other thing too. Like now you're operating with 20/20 hindsight. You went through it. You experienced
Correct.
it. You
that's
know.
True.
A lot of guys need to get their hand burned sometimes to figure out how things work.
And that's how you end up with kids out of wedlock. That's how you end up with STDs. That's how you end up with crazy people stalking you or causing drama. That's how you end up hurting a lot of people. People say,
yes, exactly. I so very agree with that. I so do. It's more than that. Like, people can learn from others' experiences too. It's not just having to go through it yourself and having to make mistakes yourself. Mistakes are going to happen endlessly. We're human beings, we're not perfect. So yeah, we're always going to have set problems. We'll always have some issues in our lives. But when you see something that's going on and you see that it's not working, as human beings, we should also look into that and be like, you know what, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe this isn't going to actually work out. Maybe I should try a different route. Maybe I should try something a little different, rather than listening to someone who, again, has never been in a long-term relationship, has never been able to keep a woman in his life, has shown time and time again of being wrong about relationships when he gives relationship advice. And there's so many others that are the same way. And a lot of these guys need to really have a mind of your own and think to yourself like, hey, you know what? This might not be working out. You try over and over again, and it still doesn't work. Truth of the matter is the only way to be able to discover for yourself what's right for you. Yes, go out into the world, learn as much as you can, but really take a good look at those who are actually married and have been married a long time. Look at dudes who have been in a relationship long term and actually look for yourself and actually see what it actually takes to be in those types of relationships. Just, instead of looking at someone like Myron and Fresh and a lot of these other people who single-handedly have no experience whatsoever. See how that's working out for you.
It's 20/20 hindsight, but there's also survivorship bias. What about all the dudes who now really can't get their finances in order because they're related with either women they got pregnant or other issues that they got from this stuff? So this is there's two things, right? I just described the short term. It doesn't also speak to the long-term implications of it. One thing that they talk about sometimes in the red pill is the pair bonding stuff. Like the more people you sleep with, the harder it is for you to commit, right? Mm-hmm. And it's always interesting because you hear that, but it's like, what's really behind that? And what's really behind that isn't actually the behavior itself, but what leads to the behavior. Meaning, the problems that people have who try to have high body counts are the same problems that were going to stop you from being in a good relationship. You don't see the value in a relationship, 1. 2, you're very, very impulsive. 3, you're just pretty much led by. So when you feel something down here, you need to act. That's how it kind of works out. These are behaviors that are going to make it very hard for you to sustain anything.
It creates habit. I think that's where he's getting at. And I am going to stop it here and just like give my 2 cents on this. What he's saying essentially is when you're doing things over and over and over again, you start to build up a habit. And we already know that habits are hard to break, right? So when you're going out there and you're sleeping around with a lot of people and you're impulsively doing it too. So it's like you're not even thinking, you're just looking at a woman or even a man, for the ladies, if you're out here looking at men and you're sexualizing them the first time you meet them, you see them and they're like, oh, you're like, oh, dang, okay, he got a 6-pack. Oh, what's that? What's going on in the pants? You know what I mean? Like you look at all that stuff and you think to yourself, yeah, like I need that. I want that. I'm going to go after that. And you keep doing it to every man you meet. Same thing with the men when they over-sexualize women and they look at these women and like, oh, yeah, I got to get with that. And you impulsively go out trying to get it just so you can mess around with them and you just keep doing it over and over again. You are building a habit. And so then you get to a point where it's like, who needs a relationship? I can get as many people as I want. Truth of the matter is, the sex is very easy nowadays. Unfortunately, it is. And so it's easy to get it. Like you can swipe right, swipe left and find something that you want. You can go to the club, find what you want. Get somebody, who's already lit and lick it up, depressed. Just go out there and go find somebody that way too. Like you have, it's easy out there to get it, but it's so much harder to find someone and maintain a relationship. And the reason being is because you got people who are not taking relationships seriously. They're not taking marriage seriously. And that has a lot to do with, not having Christ in your life. That has a lot to do with not being in the Word and not finding the answers you need to find in order to find the person you want. So I say this all to say, and I know I've been talking quite a bit, y'all. I know that you guys really wanted to watch the video, but I'm saying all of this for a reason. I'm saying this because at the end of the day, when it comes down to relationships, when it comes down to wanting to be long-term, wanting to be married, building a habit in sexualizing people and going after them so quick and then doing it over and over again, you lose value in a relationship. Because then once you get into a relationship, then, any problems that arise, your first thought, your first mindset is the habit. Well, I can go mess around with somebody for a minute, then I'll come back. And it also causes other problems too. There's a lot of consequences that comes with being promiscuous. You're talking, yes, you get STDs, you can end up with unwanted pregnancies. And just like Abba said, you can end up with people who are stalkers. You can end up with people who are just crazy and they can single-handedly ruin your life. Like they can take things away from you. And you know what? I'm gonna give you this. I'm gonna end with this story. Story time, ladies and gentlemen. I used to drive for Uber and Lyft, and there was a young man that, came to my car and I was taking him to a shelter. This is a man who actually does work. He's a construction worker. And, he talked about how he met this woman and how, he felt sorry for her because she was homeless. She didn't have anything. So 3 months after meeting her, he moved her in. He said he wanted her. She was beautiful. She was lovely. She had a bomb body. She had everything. Sexualized this woman. Brought her home, to his apartment that's in his name. They mess around. They do all this stuff. They live in, in sin, in a sense. And next thing you know, she went off on him, went crazy, called the cops on him, all kinds of stuff, and got him put out of his own home. And he had to leave, okay? And had to find another place. And he did eventually find another apartment. But you know what ended up happening? He did it again. He found a woman. This time this woman had a child, but she was beautiful. he felt like, oh man, I need her, I want her, sexualized her, he brought her home. She did the exact same thing. Got him put out of his own home and was out on his own. And now, when I was driving for Uber at the time and he was telling me his story, he's like, man, now I got to go through it all over again. And I told him, I was like, you know what? Let me give you this advice. And I leave this advice with you guys as well. I told him that his home has to be seen as a peaceful sanctuary for him and him alone. And if he hasn't really talked with this woman, been friends with the woman, I opened up and I let him know that, bringing a woman home and you don't really know her like that, just because she's pretty doesn't mean she's sane. Okay. I was very honest with him. And I was like, the truth of the matter is that you opened up your peaceful space to people that you really didn't know. And also, this is at a time where I wasn't into Christ. So I couldn't give him advice into the God about what God can provide for him. But I was at least able to let him know that when it comes down to how you deal with people, you can't just invite them into your home so quickly. You need to vet them first. You need to get to know them first. You need to take them out a few times first. You need to, see who they are as a person. Look into their character rather than their body. And that is something that I leave with everybody here. You guys have to understand, cannot just sit back and allow yourselves to get into all this trouble and building these habits of going after someone just because of how they look, what they look like, and all this other stuff. It's not going to work. You're always going to get burned every single time. And then you gotta look at it for what it is. That's just the truth of the matter. So anyway, I leave that with you guys. I know I've been talking for a minute, but I just had to express that. Thank you guys so much for coming. I do appreciate it. Okay, I really do. If this is your first time here, I would love for you to please like, share, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell for all updates. Thank you guys. I appreciate y'all. Peace out.